Hello, this is Maxim Belgoy, an assistant professor in the Museum Studies program at George Washington University. And I'm going to be talking about some of the basics of writing citations in the author date format in the Chicago Manual of Style. I'll be showing you some basics for books, whether they're monographs or anthologies, and as well I'm going to be talking about articles and reports. Some of the basics you should know about author date references is that it's very similar to notes and bibliography system. If you're familiar with that, this will be pretty easy to understand. If you're not, maybe that's okay because it'll give you a fresh place to start. So you want to first consult the overview of notes and bibliography system in chapter 14 of the Chicago Manual Style. Everything in the author date reference style or format is in chapter 15. So the big difference is that the citations are parenthetical and they're placed in the text, whereas citations in the notes and bibliography format have numbered notes. That's the biggest difference. The other big difference is that instead of a bibliography, it's called a reference list, but it is prepared pretty much the same. If you're going to look at online sources, I suggest you look at the Chicago Manual Style. I will not be covering those, but do keep in mind that many of the publications, even though you may be accessing them online through the library, they are actually printed publications, and you should treat them as printed publications. So a URL or a DOI is optional, but always nice to include. In my courses, do keep in mind that author date citations are required for the slide docs report format. Anywhere else, you use the notes and bibliography system, not author date. Now, let me show you an example of a citation with author date in-text citations. So here's an example. Donna Walker-Kuhn and Robert Putnam are two notable scholars who have contributed to the field of community engagement, albeit from different perspectives. Walker-Kuhn emphasizes the importance of inclusivity and diversity in community engagement, while Putnam focuses on the concept of social capital. Then there's the citation. In parentheses, last name, year of publication, comma, and then the page number. The second reference separated with a semicolon, Putnam, 2000, comma, page 47, close paren, and then finally a period. Period always ends the sentence. The citation appears before it. The basic elements of a author date citation is in chapter 15, paragraphs 5 through 9. If you want to take a look at it for directly, look it up. There are 4 parts. As you see here, you want to know who the author is, so who said it. When was it published? So you want the year. You want to know what it was called. What is it in? So what's the title of the publication or the chapter? And then finally, where can I find it? What's the publication information? So those are the 4 parts, the basic 4 parts that you need to keep track of. So here I have a book, Invitation to the Party by Donna Walker-Kuhn from one of my classes. In the blue background, you see on the left the basic elements for a book or report. You need to know the author's name, when it was published, what the title was, and then where it was published. So those are all the pieces. Now we're going to transform them into an in-text citation. There you see it's Walker-Kuhn, 2005. No punctuation. There's no period. There's no comma separating the author's name and the year. Then a comma and the page number. All of that is in parentheses. So that's the in-text citation. Usually goes at the end of the sentence. For someone to understand where that came from, that is not a sufficient citation. Although Walker-Kuhn is pretty unusual, if the person was named Smith or Black, you wouldn't find it. It would be too common a name. So you need to put you must have a reference list so people can put the full citation together with the shortened citation in the narrative. So here it is in the reference list. It's Walker, Kuhn, comma, Donna, person's full name, period. All the pieces are separated by periods. Then the year, period. Not a month, not a day, nothing else, just the year. Then the title of the book, always in italics, period. Then the city, a colon, and then the publisher's name, finished with a period. So all the parts, again, are separated by periods. Also notice that here we have New York. That is the name of a city, not the state. It's a well-known city, so you don't need to put in the state as well. So if you're doing London or Los Angeles or San Francisco or Chicago, those names can stand by themselves. But you're doing Lanham, Maryland, as you'll see an example coming up, you need to put both the city and the state together. If you find a publication that has multiple cities in it, that often happens, put the city, the closest, biggest American city in this list. So if it includes Oxford, England, as well as New York City, include New York City because we're here in the United States. More complicated is an anthology. You have a lot of pieces to keep track of and to collect information about. The first part is the chapter itself that you're using. Again, an anthology is a collection of chapters or essays written by different people, not the same person, for the entire book. That's a monograph. So you're looking at anthology written by lots of different people. So you want information about the chapter. So in this case, we have a chapter here written by Sarah Miller called Advocacy for Heritage Professionals During the Crisis and the Calm. And it's pages 87 through 100 in the book. And then you need information about the book. So in this case, you want to know who the editors are. That's Robert Connolly and Elizabeth Bulwark. The book was published in 2016, and the book was called Positioning Your Museum as a Critical Community Asset. And then the publisher was Rowman and Littlefield and Lanham, Maryland. So it's a lot of pieces to keep track of. The in-text citation is still pretty simple. The author's name, that is the author of the chapter, not the book. Sometimes they're the same, but in this case, they're different people. Miller, 2016, comma, page 88, close paren. Pretty simple. The reference list is much more complicated. There's a lot of parts in here. So again, you need information about both the book. You have two authors' names to keep track of, the books and the chapters. You have two titles, the book and the chapter, and then you also need to include the page numbers. So here you have the author's name, the year, the title of the article or chapter, in the name of the book, edited by the name of the authors of the book, or the editors of the book in this case, and then the page numbers of the chapter, period. Then the city and state, colon, closed by the name of the publisher with a period at the end. You can count for yourself how many pieces there are. There's a lot to keep track of in an anthology. An article is not is about the same as an anthology. There's several things you need to keep in mind. You need to get the information about the article, and you need the information about the journal itself. So in this case, the article is written by Paul Ingram and Eugene Choi. It was written in November and December issue 2022. And the article's name is What Does Your Company Really Stand For? It was on pages 41 through 47. And the journal that it was published in was the Harvard Business Review, Volume 100, Issue 6. So again, lots of information to collect. But if you look at the in-text citation, pretty simple. Again, who is the author of the article? Ingram and Choi. When was it published? What year? 2022. And what page are you referring to or citing? Page 47. Again, in parentheses, there it all is. The reference list, again, much more complicated, lots of pieces to take care of. So first, the author's name again, Ingram, Paul, and Eugen Choi, period. The year publication, 2022. Notice the month is not included here, it's just the year. And then in the name of the article is in quote marks, double quote marks, what does your company really stand for? Then the name of the journal in italics, Harvard Business Review, then the volume number and the issue number, and then in parens, the month or the season, colon, and then the page numbers, 41 through 47, followed by a period. So those are the basic formats that you'll come across 80, 90% of the time. If you are dealing with more complex things such as government documents or interviews, you'll want to look at these other resources. Or if you want to learn more about the resources I just talked about, or sources. The Chicago Manual Style is available online at Gelman Library. So just go to the search bar, type in Chicago Manual Style, and you'll get it online, and it's searchable because it is online. Always suggest, if you're going to be serious about writing, buy a copy yourself. You'll appreciate it. You'll use it all the time. Mine is just a little stretch over here away from me in a bookcase. Secondly, the Writing Center at Gelman Library has consultants who specialize in Chicago Manual of Style citations. So if you're unsure, set an appointment with them and ask them for their advice. So I hope this helps you figure out how to write author date citations. Again, these are the basics. There's a lot more to learn. So pick up a copy of the Chicago Manual Style and talk to one of the consultants at the Writing Center to learn more. See you later.